You know, the reason it's so expensive to live in Seattle is because we have to buy so many umbrellas. I'm totally kidding. It doesn't even rain here that much. Did you know Seattle is something like 49th on the list of cities that get the most annual rainfall? Just saying. Yeah, it's a lot of cloud cover, but it's really just like mist all the time. But don't tell anyone, and don't move here. It's super awful. What's up guys, Frankie here. This is the Money Resolution, where we save money, make money, get out of debt, and invest so we can retire on time, or ideally early. I put out videos roughly once a week, so subscribe if you want more content like this weekly. Also, like this video if you get some value out of it and you appreciate the full transparency ahead. And I'd love to know, what high cost of living area or city are you living in right now? Where are you tuning in from? Let me know in the comments down below. And let me be clear here before we jump in, I really dislike putting out videos talking about myself. The point of the channel here is to find financial problems, find solutions to those problems, and share them here to help people like you, period. That's it. But I know that being transparent can actually be really helpful for some people out there. I personally like to see sort of a day in the life or what I spend in a week video, just to sort of get some ideas and tips on how to live more frugally or save more money. So in this video, I'm just gonna sort of put my money where my mouth is, so to speak, and give you all of my best tips and strategies for how to save half of your income, even when living in a big, expensive city like Seattle. And these tips and tricks really should work in any city, so big or small. Hopefully you get some value out of this video. You have some great ideas to help you save more money, because that is what all this is about. Saving half is the fastest way you're gonna reach financial independence. And I'm gonna talk about really specific things like investing, even credit cards, frugality, tips for saving, side hustles, what accounts I have. And if you stick around until the end, I'm even gonna reveal a whole bunch of FinTech, that's financial technology, that I use to help me save half my income. This could be apps or sometimes even websites. And if you're looking for specifically what I invest in, tune in next week. I am putting together a video all about investing if you wanna reach financial independence, where I'm also gonna reveal a little bit of my strategy as well. Tip number one, or strategy number one, is I invest, and I do this automatically. I figured a lot of people wanna know about investing, so I figured I'd start here. And I start with maxing out my 3 tax advantage retirement accounts, starting with the 401k. I max out my 401k each year, and unfortunately, my company doesn't offer any sort of 401k match. If yours does, you absolutely must contribute at least up to the match. That's just free money. That's guaranteed 100% return on your investment. Always contribute to the match at a minimum, full stop, period. Next up is the Roth IRA. So I also max out the Roth IRA, and I use M1 Finance to do this. And I do have a tutorial here on the channel about the Roth IRA, how to open one and invest within it using M1 Finance. Next up is the HSA. And what a lot of people don't realize about a health savings account is that you can actually invest within it. Plus, if you do this, you're actually realizing triple tax benefits. So more on that also in a different video here on the channel, all about HSAs and investing within it. I'll put links to both my Roth IRA, my HSA video, and any other videos I reference throughout this video in the description down below. And a lot of people that end up retiring early or reaching financial independence at an early age end up calling their HSA their secret weapon towards retirement. And just a quick reminder about the Roth and the HSA. If you're investing within one, that money that you put into that account is just cash sitting idle. You actually need to go and self-direct and make those investments actively. That's a little bit different than the 401k, which for the most part, at least since I think it's 2006, employers usually automatically enroll you into a fund. A lot of times it's a target date retirement fund. I invest in index funds that track either the total stock market, the S&P 500, or a little bit into the international market as well. Now, getting to the point where I am now contributing automatically roughly $25,000 towards these 3 retirement accounts definitely wasn't easy. I started by increasing what I was contributing by about 1% to 2% each month back in 2018. By the end of that year, I think it was at 10 or 11%. In 2019, it was the first year I was able to max out all 3, and I'm on track once again to max out all 3 here in 2020. In fact, I maxed out my Roth, I think, all the way back in April, which isn't normal, but here with COVID, I had a lot of trips canceled and refunded and tickets refunded and things like that. So I took all of that money and I put it into the Roth right away, especially because the market was extra soft at the time. Tip number 2 is that I budget, but I actually only do this once a year. So I don't keep a strict budget, but at the beginning of each year, I sit down and I map out all of my expenses I'm expecting throughout the year. And I also set my goals and how much I want to save into each of my accounts. After that, I do everything I can to automate my way to it. And I know that I can trust myself because over the years, I've learned how to resist temptation, live within my means, not try to keep up with the Joneses. The easiest way to do that is just stay off of Instagram completely. And the best part about this is I never feel like I'm living without or restrained. I'm not counting down dollars I have left until the end of the week or the end of the month because I know exactly where my money is and where it's going. I have a plan and I'm able to just set it and forget it. And part of that plan is paying myself first. On a side note here, I don't necessarily budget daily or weekly or anything, but I do keep a spreadsheet with shared expenses between me and my girlfriend. I update this every, 3 to 5 days, and we settle up every time she gets paid, usually the 15th and the 1st of the month. And I keep this shared Google spreadsheet right there on my homepage of my phone, so it's really easy to open that up and jot anything down, even when I'm out and about or on the run. Tip number 3 is I rent, and this means no maintenance, no repairs, and I honestly think renting is super underrated and not talked about enough. Unfortunately, we don't have any sort of rent control here in Seattle that I'm aware of, so it is a little bit of holding your breath each time your lease comes up, but I will say in the 3.5 years that we've been living in this building, our rent's only gone up 2 of those times. One time it didn't go up at all. And I think the most it ever went up was something like $60. Now, as I already sort of alluded to earlier, I do have to point out that I live with my girlfriend, so we cohabitate and we're dinks. That's dual income, no kids. Although we have a puppy and he can get a little bit expensive from time to time and he's like a part-time job. So anyway, back when I was really bad with money, so 2015, 16, and before that, I decided at some point to get my own studio apartment in one of the most expensive neighborhoods here in Seattle, and that was a horrible decision. After that, I found a townhouse and I found a roommate from Craigslist, and we shared that for a year. And now I have another roommate, the best kind of all. Here we pay something like $2,300, but that's because we upgraded from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom just this year so that I could use the second room as an office. And we have no regrets about that because that $2,300 also includes garage parking as well as storage, plus lots of extra storage with extra closets and space, and a whole second bathroom, and a deck with a view. And if you're wondering if we live in a horrible, horrible neighborhood just to keep the cost down, absolutely not. We live in a really beautiful neighborhood here right next to Fremont. Lots of bars, restaurants, and places to shop nearby and walkable, as well as maybe just a 10-minute drive to downtown. So it's an awesome, awesome location. I'd recommend you check it out, but it rains here all the time. Definitely don't come to Seattle. It's already too expensive. Thanks. Now, real quick, whenever I talk about this apartment, I like to share the story of how we actually found it. The story is I was looking for a vacuum on Craigslist. I came to this apartment, or the one we used to live in, and this guy said everything was for sale and asked if I wanted to buy anything else. I looked around and I said, I actually kind of want your apartment. So he promptly walked me down to the leasing office, and before you knew it, we had this apartment locked in at a pretty good rate before it even hit the market. Now, you might say that was lucky, but I would just call that being opportunistic. We took advantage of the situation presented in front of us without hesitation, and it totally worked out. And that's sort of what you have to do to live affordably in a big city. You have to be creative and be persistent. Oh, and never live alone if you want to save half of your income. Next up, tip number 4 is I use public transportation. Now, I've talked about here on the channel how I don't have a car and instead I ride a moped, but I would say half the time I'm also using public transportation. Luckily, where I work, they actually provide their employees with unlimited Orca cards. Those Orca cards can be used on buses and light rail stations, so that's a pretty cool perk that we have, but a lot of companies here actually offer that. I do work downtown when I go into the office, but we live near a light rail station. Well, it's roughly 1.5 miles away. So sometimes I ride the best bit of that, or in most cases, I actually get dropped off. And on the other side, when I get to work, it's only about 5 blocks or so from the light rail station. So it works out really nicely. If you live in Seattle or a big city and you're not using public transportation, definitely get to know it. I'm constantly surprised how clean the buses and light rail are, how on time they are. And if nothing else, just get used to maybe trying out riding your bike to work. I alluded to it, but my girlfriend does have a car, and that's what we park in the garage downstairs next to the moped. But I only use it maybe once a month, so I pitch in gas every once in a while, but it's really pretty affordable. Tip number 5 is I don't pay full price for anything, or at least I try not to. And again, this is another tip that I think is extremely underrated. And if you want to retire early, I think this is one that people aren't talking enough about. I find looking for a discount or getting a better price sort of like a game. It's actually kind of fun for me. But of course, I'm never a jerk about it. but I have to point out, anytime I see a price tag, I never assume that price is final. Almost anything is negotiable or can be bought at a discount. Even your bills, for example, even your interest rate on your credit card. So when it comes to food, for example, we're always seeking out happy hour, or we're clipping coupons when shopping on Amazon Fresh. For clothes, I will sign up for email lists and present a coupon in store. I literally did this last weekend at the Gap. I was in line and I found a 40% off coupon that saved me dozens of dollars. I use the plugin Honey, or I set up alerts via Brad's Deals. Same thing goes, if something new comes out, I wait a few months, then I end up buying it used off of Craigslist. I barter, I trade services, I take advantage of discounts from other people's works. You name it, I try to find a way to save on it. So I hope this doesn't come off as cheap at all. I genuinely find joy in trying to find a better price or a better rate. But if I do end up paying full price for something, I try to buy the nicest version of that thing and keep it or use it as long as possible. Case in point, I'm still wearing the original Apple Series 1 watch. Next up, strategy 6, or tip number 6 here, is we play the credit card rewards games so that we can travel. Traveling is something I absolutely won't give up, even if it means retiring 1 year or even 5 years sooner. It's the thing that keeps us motivated. We love having that thing 1 month or 2 months on the calendar that we can look forward to. I love spending the time researching and plotting out the days, sometimes down to the minute, and planning how we're gonna optimize our fun even when we're on a budget. We travel usually, I'd say 2 to 3 times a year, sometimes even internationally, like we did in our 13-day trip to Europe back in 2018. We both signed up for the Chase Sapphire Reserve card a couple of years ago, and we were both able to score those bonus points. I think it was $50,000 for signing up and spending a certain amount within the first 3 days. I also earned bonus points through the sign-up program with the Chase Inc. business card as well as the Capital One venture card. I have my eyes on getting more credit cards, and I've put out credit card videos here on the channel, but we have something like 150,000 points tucked away right now, mainly due to COVID. Of course, we can only play the credit card rewards game because both of us are completely out of credit card debt. A couple years back, both of us had credit card debt balances we were carrying around that were somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 each. And both of us made strong commitments to pay these off within a year, and we were both successful at doing so, I think in less than a year. Do not play the credit card rewards game if you are carrying a balance month to month and you're not able to pay it in full each month, period. There's nothing more to say. But if you are excited about the credit card rewards game and you do have a debt, use that as motivation to get yourself out of debt as fast as possible. Tip number 7 is we have fun on the cheap. We love going to the dog park or working out. Yes, I listed that under fun. We watch Netflix and Prime Video and even borrowed a friend's Hulu account information. And occasionally we'll rent a movie, but it's from Redbox. And when I do that, I go to my email once again and score a discount, and usually that rental is less than $1, even for a Blu-ray. We play games, we color books, we go on hike once a year. I make YouTube videos, and yes, this is super fun for me. We throw fun, silly, affordable parties here at the house. Something like a blind wine tasting party is one of the ones we do every year. Or we'll grab a $5.99 bottle of wine from Trader Joe's and we'll take it to a park and have a picnic. I go to Mariner games when I get offered any free tickets. I even figured out how to score $5 beers at Mariner games. Mariner games without beer is just not doable. Not fun. Now, one thing I do splurge on are Seahawks season tickets, which I split with a few friends, but this year, no fans allowed, so what we were able to do is roll that money over to next year, so even next season is already taken care of, which is kind of nice. Go Hawks. We just make smart decisions day in and day out, and we plan ahead for the weekend so we don't find ourselves bored on a Friday or Saturday night and going out on the town and splurging just because we're bored. And if you want to know about how to have fun in Seattle on the cheap, I recently put together a video on 25 free things you can do here. I think this was actually back before COVID hit, so the timing was just a coincidence, but lots of great tips. A lot of them are outdoors and super safe even during COVID. Tip number 8 is I side hustle, and I'm gonna speed this up and cut to the chase with a lot of these. I do some marketing consulting here and there. I've self-published 2 books, which you can find on Amazon. One of them I even produced my own audiobook for. I dabble with affiliate marketing through the Amazon Associates program. I've earned a whopping $2.88 this year. But if you use the link in the description down below to check out my books, not only do I get royalties on that, I get a tiny commission on the sale. That'd be really awesome. I'm just showing you how to do it. I am currently working on a course, the Money Resolution Masterclass, which is gonna launch here, I think in December, to help people get started on the right foot in the new year. I share what I know and I try to help people, and sometimes in turn that makes me a little bit of money. Not a lot right now, but I'm trying to build something for the long term. But all of that I honestly just invest back into all of my projects, not least of which is YouTube, and I did just get monetized on YouTube. I couldn't be more thankful or grateful for every single subscriber. There are tons of great finance channels out there, so I am just so grateful that you would consider subscribing to mine. And a reminder that watching the ads and not skipping them actually supports me and the channel. Number 9 is I have goals. I know my financial independence number. I know that saving half is the fastest way to get me there. And I know that I want to get there by something like age 45 or age 40 even as a stretch goal, so that work becomes optional. Traditional work anyway. I want more time so that I can invest more time into projects like this and reach more people and spread the good word of financial literacy. I want to make more videos, more courses, write books, continue learning, and relax more as well. Or ideally have kids and spend most of my time with them. I want to buy a house and eventually a second house and turn that first one into a rental property or an Airbnb property. And I want to turn the Money Resolution into a brand and an established business that reaches more people and makes more of an impact. I want to inspire more people to master their finances. My goals aren't just short term and they're not about just this year. I know exactly what I'm reaching for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and beyond. A little bonus tip here is goals are nothing without action. Plus, staying busy is actually one of the best ways to prevent yourself from spending money. A lot of people spend money because they're bored, but it's hard to find time to go shopping or get jealous of other people on Instagram when you're constantly consumed with projects. I highly recommend you give it a shot. Number 10, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, is I'm gonna talk about the FinTech I use, that's financial technology, and I'm gonna rely on some of my notes here in front of me to make sure I get most of them. But using FinTech is one awesome way to help you keep on track and another awesome way to help you automate a lot of your savings towards your goals. So if you stuck around until the end of this video, here are my recommendations for some FinTech. Starting with M1 Finance, which I mentioned earlier. I use this for my Roth because it's just dead simple to use. I use Ally Bank for my emergency fund. That's because this helps me keep my emergency fund out of sight and out of mind, but pretty easily accessible if I really do need it. I use Betterment, which is a robo-investing tool or app. I also have an emergency fund there, but just a little bit each paycheck I put into. And I also do a little bit of traditional investing using that sort of robo service with them. I use a credit union instead of a big bank. Not FinTech, I just wanted to put a plug for credit unions here. If you're in Seattle, I highly recommend BECU. I use Personal Capital also to track my net worth, and because I like the notifications and emails they send me, it lets me know how I'm doing this month compared to the previous month. I used to use the app Tip Yourself. You could just literally tip yourself some cash. I used to reward myself for going to the gym or knocking out some chores like the grocery store. And usually that was gonna be my spending money for the weekend. So it was almost like I had to earn my weekend fun money. I think that Tip Yourself is actually gone and got bought by Earnin is what I read online. I think they have a similar feature in Earnin as well as other features, so I might check that out here soon. Other ones I've dabbled with are Clarity Money, Twine, Trim, Digit, and Mint. I'm not using most of these, although I use Trim a little bit to help me cut my bills. Another video about that in the description below. But if you know me, you know I usually don't stop here. I usually provide a bonus tip or two. So the first bonus tip is I express gratitude. Now hear me out on this one. I'm currently reading Happy Money by Ken Honda. I highly recommend this one. Admittedly, some of the concepts can be a little bit frou-frou, but it's eye-opening, it's inspiring, and it talks a lot about gratitude, being super grateful for every dollar you earn and even grateful for every dollar you spend. It's not so much karma as it is energy or something. I don't know if that made sense. But it reinforces this idea that you should still give money, you should still give time. If you do so, it's going to come back in strides and it's going to do more and help more people. And helping more people is, once again, more important than retiring 1 year, 2 years, or even 5 years earlier. So if you want to make peace with your money, I highly recommend Happy Money. I'll put a link in the description down below, or just pick it up at your local library like I did. Bonus tip number 2 here is to consider geo arbitrage. So the idea with geo arbitrage is that if you're able to work remotely from anywhere, and work has kind of changed here since COVID, you would move to a cheaper cost of living area while keeping your current job in a higher cost of living area. So You have big city income, but small city expenses. And I actually mentioned this, speaking of books, as one of the pro tips in my latest book, Money You Can Hack It. So there's 101 more tips and hacks in this book. I'd be grateful if you were interested in checking this one out. I'll put a link to a free digital download in the description below. Okay, that is 10 tips for how to save more money, half of your income, even if you live in a big, expensive city. Those are the things I do anyway, and I really do hope it provided some value to you. Links to everything, the videos, the books, everything I referenced down below, even the FinTech I use and recommend. While you're down there, I would really appreciate a like on this video. It goes a long way in helping other people discover it. Subscribe to the Money Resolution if you have not. I'm on a mission to retire early, and I want to take as many of you along with me as I can. And like I asked in the very beginning of this video, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. So tell me about how expensive your city is. I'd love to hear some funny examples. Like for us, parking is like $5 an hour. A slice of pizza is like $8. I think an IPA is like $9 at a brewery. You get the idea. Best of luck to you on your journey towards financial independence or financial independence and retiring early. I really appreciate you tuning in. And as always, I appreciate you for getting to the end of this video. I will talk to you guys in the next one. Thanks. September 29th. It's 76 degrees out. Again, don't move here. It's super expensive and it rains every single day. That's fake light coming in, pouring in from the window. Really nice, warm, fake light.